Hey, it's Jeff here, your YouTube reviewer of New England brews. Welcome to NEBR, New England Beer Reviews. This is from Hidden Cove Brewery, a fairly new brewery out of Wells, Maine. And this is their barrel-aged Trinal with an alcohol by volume of 9% ABV. This beer is a triple style, Belgian style triple. It's brewed with in bourbon barrels and also with red wine yeast. That's what it says here on the label. So yeah, so it's looks like it could be an interesting beer. I have not had anything from this brewery. I have heard of this brewery. I've just not had the opportunity to try anything from this brewery. So this is in a corked caged top, and this is one of those kind of awkward sizes. It's a little bigger than a pint, but not quite, you know, a bomber. So I'm going to take off the cap. It's got a corked caged top. I'll take off the cap and check it out. There's the cage part, and here comes the part with the cork. And this may take a second, so I'll check it out. Still working at it. I'm still working at this. I've cut this a little bit so that I can try to get this cap off. This is really in there. This cork is really in there. Okay, I may have to use some pliers or something to get this cap off. This is really in there. I really don't like it when they're corked like this, quite frankly. I love corks. I mean, I don't mind corks, but quite frankly, this is really in there. And I may be tearing this to shreds. Okay, I may have to use some heavy-duty pliers on this sucker. This thing is really in there. I may actually have to use a corkscrew for this thing. Oh, wait, here we go. I'm going to have to use a corkscrew for this thing. So give me a minute to figure this out. I broke off the cap. As you can see, this is really corked in there. So I have to go find myself a corkscrew to take the cap off on this thing. Okay, I just stepped away, got myself a corkscrew, and I'm really going to have to use a corkscrew on this thing. This doesn't happen too often. In a way, it's kind of embarrassing when I'm trying to do a video recording here, and you get a beer like this that just does not want to have the cap off. And that is always the problem with these sort of, these corked caged beers. This is really in there. So here we go. I broke the cap already, I broke the cork already. And now I'm just kind of bringing a corkscrew in, which in a way is kind of amusing. And we shall see how this goes. Alright, it seems to be finally coming around. What a project. But here we go. Let's see if I can get this thing to come off. And after I got it off, there's really no pop to the thing. Well, after all of that, I'm going to check this out and pour it into the glass. This is Mott the Lesser, and this is a beer from Tributary, which is also in Maine. So these breweries are only Tributary and this one are only a few miles apart. So finally pouring it into the glass. And let's check this thing out. All right. Okay, I poured it and take a look at the color on this beer. Really has a nice amber color. I'm not getting much in the way of red, but I'm getting a nice amber orange color with a modest little off-white head. Moderate carbonation that seems to be fairly busy. So it's an attractive looking beer. I give it high grades for the way it looks. Let's check out the aroma. This definitely has some wild ale or wild yeast characters going on. It has it's really kind of, I'm getting this kind of sour, fruity character in this beer. I mean, it is brewed with bourbon or bourbon barrels, So I guess I'm getting a bit of a grape character as well, which is typical for that. Not getting a whole lot in the way of malts, but I'm really getting an interesting sour, sort of sweet character here. A maltiness, a toasted maltiness, and mild hops. Let's check out the taste. Interesting beer, interesting beer. But first of all, the body on this beer is actually kind of smooth. It's got a kind of a, sort of a bit of an acidity to it, but it's actually more on the smooth side. Now, when I'm checking out the aroma, the beer almost reminds me of a sour or a wild ale, but it's really not a sour tasting beer at all. In fact, I'm getting more of a fruity character, probably from those bourbon barrel esters that are going to the bourbon barrel characteristics that this is brewed with. I'm not picking up any sort of booze whatsoever for 9%, but it's definitely got a sweetness to it. There's a very interesting sweet character going on here. It's like a grape character, you know, which is, I guess, typical for wine. It is used. They do use some red wine yeast for this, so you really are getting that kind of red grape character in the taste, and not so much in the aroma, but more in the taste. It's actually very, you know, the body is, like I said, medium, but it's not really kind of, it's just a nice texture to it all. It's very, very delicate, very comfortable on the tongue. This tends to make me think more wine than beer because of the fruitiness in this and the red grape character. It does have all those sort of malt characters you would expect in a beer, and it does have a bit of that mild, very mild, but not a lot, just a really subtle hop finish on this. But it's really more like a sour, but it's not super sour or pucker up sour. This is definitely a difficult beer to explain. It's a Belgian style triple. You would think I would pick up more of a spicy character, and I guess I'm getting a bit of that, not a whole lot of it, but I'm getting a slight spiciness, a slight toasted biscuit character, which is typical for a Belgian style triple. But really it's that red wine and red grape character that really takes everything over. But it definitely is a beer too. I mean, it's not like I'm drinking a wine here. You get those characteristics, but you're also still getting that sweet, malty character that you would expect from a good beer, and a really light, hoppy, bitter finish. This is a difficult beer to define. Now, I'm not going to say a bad thing about it. I think it's actually pretty interesting. It is definitely a fascinating beer to drink, and it's actually kind of a nice beer to drink. It's kind of warming, kind of pleasant. It's not a very heavy beer. It's medium bodied, very easy to drink. You don't pick up the alcohol for 9%, but it's just something about it that's a little different. Got to be that wine characteristic, since it's brewed with you know, the red wine yeast. Got to have something to do with it, because it just brings it into a whole different territory. But anyway, it's not a bad beer, so I'm not going to give it a bad rating. It's just something I haven't quite had before, so it's something unique and interesting, and I like unique and interesting. You know, who doesn't like unique and interesting? At least I do. I love those. So anyway, that'll do it for now. This is from Hidden Cove Brewing out of Wells, Maine, and this is their barrel-aged Trinal. So thanks for stopping by. I'll catch you again next time.